All right, welcome everybody to episode 39 of Shelf Space. And first of all,
39.
39. Yeah, that's right. That's hey, same age as me. I just had my birthday the other day, so that's a special birthday episode. All
Happy
right,
birthday.
as usual, I got my fellow co-hosts here. We got Charles from Montreal. We have Gina live from Toronto.
Hello.
And myself, I'm Chris. I'm live from Edmonton. We're live across Canada today. And today's a little bit of a different episode. We've got in hand some pre-production samples from XM Studios. You can see beside me here, we got the Hawkman. Later on, we're going to talk about the Super Sons statue. These are both part of their DC 16 Rebirth line. And not just going to be us three here today. In the next hour, we're going to talk to both sculptors of each piece. So let's welcome in, or first of all, Charles, you're going to tell us about Hawkman. He's been around for 80 plus years, and it's not exactly an easy story to follow. So,
Okay.
Why don't you
It's
tell us a
so
little bit about
funny
Hawkman?
because when you started saying he was been around for 80 plus years, I thought you were talking about me.
No.
It's not the case. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to share my screen so we can take a look at some covers of comic books because this is one heck of a history. And it's going to be challenging to cover. All right, so here we go.
2 minutes or less, go.
2 minutes or less. All right, so here we go. Hawkman's first appearance was basically in Flash number 1, 1940, written by Gardner Fox, drawn by Dennis Neville. Now, in this first incarnation of Hawkman, he's basically millionaire museum curator Carter Hall, and he is a reincarnated Egyptian prince named Khufu. He actually eventually became the leader of the JSA. Now, this was a character that was the part of the golden age of Hawkman, and he lasted until 1951. Now, how was he able to fly? Basically, the costume is composed of an anti-gravity metal, which he stumbled upon, and it was a costume, and there you go. And he fought crime and evil. Now, it's interesting because between 1951 and 1961, there were no Hawkman comics. He just did not appear. So they went back, in the late 50s, early 60s, we started to see a revamp of the Silver Age characters. And they went back to Gardner Fox, and this time with Joe Kubert. And they asked him, could you revamp this character, present him to a new generation of fans? And this is where he was revamped. In Brave and the Bold, number 34, in 1961. Now, in this case, he was reintroduced as Qatar Hall, an alien policeman from planet Thanagar who's come to Earth on a trail of a criminal named Biff, who's a shapeshifter. So, in this incarnation, there is no Egyptian prince named Khufu or reincarnation or anything like that. So, it's very, very, very different. So in this case, what he's wearing is a Thanagarian police uniform. They have powers like being able to communicate with birds who end up helping them track down the criminals that they're basically going after. Now, instead of going back to Thanagar, he actually stays around with his wife, Shiera. They remain as museum curators. They learn the Earthling ways, how to fight crime, become a member of the JLA. Now, over time, Hawkman became a confusing character to follow because they're going like, okay, is he reincarnated prince? Is he a Thanagarian policeman? Like, what's the deal with this guy? So they, during the Crisis of Infinite Earths, they tried to fix all the inconsistencies regarding this character. So they actually made matters worse. So they tried to make it look like, okay, let's make him a Thanagarian policeman and also have an Egyptian background. But it was so inconsistent that most of the writers weren't doing that. So after Crisis on Infinite Earths, and then you have a period where he was a White Lantern, and then you have Flashpoint going back and forth, and New 52, it was confusing as hell. So now they've come to a point where, you know what, let's just make him a Thanagarian policeman. He's a superhero. None of this reincarnated stuff. Let's just have fun with the character. He'll be part of the Justice League. And that's the way he is now. So you basically have a choice. When you're looking at Hawkman, you basically could look at him either as a reincarnated Egyptian prince or a space cop or a combination of the two. Either way, he's a fabulous character, but it can be confusing if you're trying to follow who this character is. So
Definitely.
that is the fastest history you could ever
in
have
2 minutes.
on Hawkman.
Now, without, because we got him waiting here in the background, we're going to bring on our first special guest of the episode today, and that is Mr. Nillo Samyr.
Nillo, welcome to the show.
Coming to us live from Brazil. Whereabouts in Brazil are you located?
I'm Brasilia, the capital of Brazil.
Oh, fabulous.
Yes.
Awesome. So, Nillo, we're going to start things off. XM comes to you and says, we want you to do Hawkman. What's your first impression of that? Were you excited? Is this a character that you know? Or did you was it completely new to you?
No, I knew Hawkman. I'm not like a super DC fan, but I like the animation series. So
the Justice League animation series,
yes.
You mean? Yeah.
Yeah. When they come for me, like, yeah, I'm super excited at the time. So
did they ask you to do Hawkman, or did you ask them to do Hawkman? Did they give you a choice?
No, they asked me. I did another character before, so with wings. I think I can say that. Like who he is, but it's a DC character too. So with wings, so they like the way I do the wings. I work with it, so they asked me to do the Hawkman. So it's like a similar character. So.
Okay, so speaking of the wings, I'll just show a quick video here. I've got some close-ups of the wings.
Oh, that's very nice.
Take a look at that. So you look at the detail here. Yeah, go ahead.
When you're doing wings like this, every single line, like this is, it isn't like, sculpting an arm. Every single like micro centimeter has to have some kind of creative design. Do you find this very challenging to do?
Yes. There's ones like, the design wasn't that difficult, like, cause the DC sent us some main reference for the Hawkman Rebirth, but they sculpted the interpretation of in 3D and the to get life in, so it can get life in real life.
Yeah.
So was like really difficult to get these dynamic wings, the feather, and fly around like.
You know what I like about...
I have to do like the wings. I think it was 5 times. I did 5 wings, and there is no like.
Well, as
cool
they say,
like this one.
Yeah. 5th time is a charm. I'll just do a quick 360 of the statue here.
This is beautiful. Look at that.
What I like about this is like you can see the wings very clearly, but they're not spread out. Like it's still a compact statue. I need that for me. Like if I'm going to display a statue, it's got to be compact these days because I just don't have room anymore. So I love that about this statue because I think this is kind of the prime angle that I'm showing him here, like from his left, and you can see the whole wing here. Fantastic idea. So, Gina, why don't you go ahead with?
Yeah, I want to ask. Actually, I want to focus on the wings that we were just talking about, or sort of, I guess, carry on with the wings. One of my favorite things about the 6-scale XM pieces is that they veer towards realistic or like realism, and the wings, obviously, on this piece follow through with that. So. I'm wondering, did you use a specific like species of bird to sort of base the wings on, or were you using what you saw in the comics, or is there like a specific species of bird that you went for to look to how to do those wings and how to do the feathers?
Like that is a good question. Like when I was doing one of my first like wings, I used some kind of like realistic bird, like. Kind of organization of feathers. When you see close the bird feathers, they are like different on the top and the end. Like it's totally different feathers. But the DC and the XM didn't like what they're doing. Like it's too realistic, so they want to like get more in the comics, more stylized wings.
Okay.
So I need to change. the time, and I have to redo everything again. So
Yeah, that sucks sometimes.
So
yeah,
so it's like five. I think you were saying that it was 5 times that you had
yes.
to, or 5 times. And are you? How do you feel about now the fifth time? Like, do you like going like
No,
this final? Yeah.
I really like the final result. Like it's more stylized and more dynamic wing. So I really like it. It's everything is like different. It's different art direction. So I like every wing I did. So, but in the end, I get why they need to express with the statue. So
Yeah,
I
this is
really
what they
like
want
it.
to go with. You know what I
Yeah.
really also like about the wings is, he's soaring upwards, right?
Yes.
And the way you did the wings, you could feel like the air pressing down on him. And I believe that he's soaring up, and that was really well done. It was one of the first things I noticed, that you can feel the soaring.
Nice.
So I just want to switch gears here just a little bit. I want to talk about the base on this statue.
Oh yeah.
And we'll just show this real quick. We got a sort of a 360. It's a very Egyptian-themed base. So they kept a little bit of the original origins, I guess, of the character. And we'll have some more close-ups here in one sec. This is my favorite part here. This column in the back. It's got all these Egyptian symbols and hieroglyphs on there with some Hawkman symbolism as well. And then this crumbled statue in front. So I wanted to ask about the base. I'll just flip this around.
Sure.
All the symbols on the back, are those real Egyptian symbols? Do they have any meaning at all, or are they just random things that you made up, or where'd you come up with
I
those?
tried to get some symbols that like match the Hawkman like style and design. So look for more birds and ha. I think that's how to pronounce it. I'm not sure. Like
Is not the wing, the bird symbolism is a big part of
yeah,
Egyptian
it's a
culture,
big
right?
deal on the Egypt culture. So I look for more these symbols and some like I improve it, but most of it's from real symbol. The
Nice. So
Egypt symbol.
do you have any idea what they mean, or are they just grabbed?
No.
Well, it really adds to the design, and it distinguishes that symbolism on the base. It distinguishes a Hawkman from every other statue that XM is doing in the DC universe. So that was a really good touch. You didn't have to go there, but it was great that you did. So this kind of statue encompasses all the different histories of the character. So, everybody who's a Hawkman, regardless of which era, will see part of that displayed here. So that was very nicely done too.
Yeah, anything Egyptian themed, I'm automatically, that piques my interest. I don't know. I love Egyptian culture, like the ancient Egyptian culture and art and things. I don't know about you. Was that something that got you excited about this statue, or?
Yes, I really like the Egypt culture. So my name is kind of remembered there. So that is
Okay.
like the it's kind of from there, like the reminiscent in my name. But one thing like I like the statue, I try to bring the extraterrestrial gods, like like the book. I'm not sure how to say English, but it's a book from astronaut gods. I think that it's imagine like in the time, it's Hawkman come to Earth, and the Egypt culture, like when see Hawkman, I see a god. So I try to bring that to the symbol and the statue, like they try to venerate him like as a god.
Well, yeah. I mean, if you could imagine, like 3,000 years ago, or whenever they're building the pyramids, and this guy comes down from the sky with these wings,
Yes.
and who is this guy, right? So, absolutely, he would be a godlike figure. Let's just take a look. I got another quick video here that I'll share. just some of the close-ups of the statue. So we just got some overview shots of this guy, and again, yeah, like you say, very kind of godlike pose. He's very
and the anatomy is perfect. I mean, you really did a nice job on the anatomy.
Thank you.
He's, and Hawkman's a manly man, so he's got the arm hair and the chest hair, the knuckle hair.
Exactly, and you see all the extra touches is what's selling this piece. At least for me, when I'm looking at it, the attention to detail in the musculature, the arm hair, the movement, the fluidity of the wings. I mean, all of it put together, like you really put your mind and body into this design, and it shows.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, the helmet on this piece, this sample, actually comes off, but it won't on the final piece. I've confirmed that, I think, with XM. So hopefully they give us that same look, because I like the look of him wearing the helmet. But you can see the statue really, I think, displays well. For me, I think it's got to be displayed like this from this angle here, but it really looks good, I think, on a shelf. So great work.
I agree with what you're saying, Chris. I think you were saying that in an earlier discussion on the statue that it doesn't look like it's glued on to him. The helmet, it doesn't look like it looks like something that they put on, which is exactly what it's supposed to look like, something that you put on. Sometimes when you see other statues with helmets, it looks like it's part of their skull. And it makes their head look like it was so small, but over here it really shows that it's a helmet.
Yeah, so I'll take it off, I guess. I'll show you guys how it comes off. But it likely is going to be attached to the head and the final piece. So it comes off. They've actually sculpted the face and painted the face and everything under there. But I've had that discussion with Sang about this piece, because I want that look. I've actually ordered the piece because I liked it that much, and I want that same look of a guy wearing a helmet. So was that your intent there? Making, like, you must have sculpted it as a completely separate piece, and when you did it?
Like when they asked me to they need like two, kind of like when you work, you say like two faces, two heads, like one without helmet and one with helmet. But in this piece, they didn't ask that, so I kind of sculpted a little bit, but it's not like a perfect head. You can see, I think you can see that.
Yeah, it kind of fits into the helmet, like.
Yeah, but it's not like perfect, right?
Yeah.
So, yeah.
They'll get to it.
Yeah, it's. I think it's a fantastic piece. So now that you see it, you see the photos, you see the video and everything of your piece here. I don't know if you likely haven't had a chance to see it in person, but I'm sure they'll send you one eventually. What do you think of the final product? You see it now live in 3D. Are you happy with how it turned out?
Sure. I know. I really love it. Like, it's like, for me now, like, it's impossible to hate a piece when I finish. Sometimes I hate, like, I have like some kind of some art direction that I don't like. So in the end, like, I mean, it could be better. So I kind of hate this part here, or the design or the art direction. But in the end, I really like it.
That's the hardest part about working in a team, is that it's very hard for everyone to be on board with every aspect of it the entire way through. But I think
the problem is the like the DC or this license, the license feedback sometimes, like, is really annoying. So, this time I didn't have it.
Yeah, they want it to look a particular way. That's for sure.
Yeah,
it's their property, so at the end of the day, they're the boss. But I got to say, I like it. It's Hawkman, his look is very in contrast with his history. He's very, very basic, very simple costume. There's not much to it, but that's kind of what I've always liked about the characters. He's just kind of a badass dude with a mace. I like that.
I think one of the things that's interesting, working on a sculpt, is that you do the digital design, and sometimes it could be a year or two before you actually see the final product.
Yeah.
So what's that like? You know, when you finally see it, it's like, oh wow, finally. Like, or do you feel sometimes a disconnection because it's been so long since you looked at it or worked on it?
No, like in the end, I'm really excited to see the final prototype and the production piece. Sometimes you can see the difference, or they change something after I finish. Need to improve to improve the production. They need to change and modify some part of the piece, so the production line can get like cheap or fast or simplify. So they worry about like when change some parts to if you will resist the shipping. But
Yeah,
I'm really excited in the end, like to see the painting, real painting. And
Yeah, that's a good point, because this statue, this is a sample, it's pre-production, it's not engineered yet, as they say. So, like I said, the helmet likely won't come off. The wings will, like these wings are kind of just hanging on, by a thread right now. They'll be more solid and sturdy once you get it. So there's no magnets or anything in this yet. They haven't, but you're right. They'll cut things in places where you didn't intend, then just to make it more secure for shipping.
Well, also less prone to damage and shipping. Sometimes that's one of the changes that they make. So it can fit in a box well, and they don't want to have too many small parts on the corners because fans go nuts if something ships with chips on it. But I think that
sometimes the fans like piss off when they change something to improve the shipping or something like that. Like the helmet, maybe they need to change it, like doing one piece, so in production it will be fast and cheap to produce. But the fans like, I don't like it. I prefer in the production piece.
Yeah. All right. So, Hawkman, this is, I should mention, this statue is still available from XM Studios, and their DC Rebirth line is available worldwide. So you can get it direct from XM. You can get it from any of their retailers. I think in North America, it's GFX.
Yep, it's a worldwide license for this one, right?
Yeah, so you can get it anywhere, any of the retailers. I think they're all listed on the website, on XM's website. If you scroll down on the Hawkman page, it's got all the retailers, or you can buy it direct from XM. So I encourage anyone who is interested in it to get it, because I'm really impressed. It twisted my arm enough to get the piece as well. So I'll have the final one to compare to this at the end of the day.
Well, it's easily the best 6 scale Hawkman out there. There's no other Hawkman statue in this scale that's better. So, if you're collecting this scale, this is a dream piece.
Exactly. So, any last questions for Nillo before we switch gears here to our other statue for the day?
I don't have any other questions. All I want to say is, Nillo, thanks so much for coming on the show, and we hope to have you come back. When you're working on other statues, let us know, or we'll keep an eye out for them, and we could do this again.
Sure.
Yeah, I think, definitely we'd like to have you on again. This is kind of a whirlwind episode. You've got a really nice portfolio. I looked at it at your ArtStation page, and definitely some pieces there that people would recognize that we could talk about maybe more in depth a little bit later. But we'll keep things moving here. Thanks for joining us today. Hawkman from XM, awesome statue sculpted by this man here, Nillo Samyr.
All right.
You. It's my pleasure. I hope we can meet again. So
absolutely.
I'll be there.
Okay, thanks for joining us. So let's switch gears here. So Charles, you're going to give us a quick rundown on the Super Sons, who also have a bit of an interesting history.
That's right.
Swap the statues in the background here. So we'll get the photos loaded up, and I'll swap the pieces.
Okay, let me just share my screen here, and then I'm going to go to the folder that has those pictures. Everybody can hear me still?
Yep.
Okay, so let me just close these Hawkman wonderful pictures, and we're going to go start with this one. Okay, let me just expand that picture. Now, Super Sons has actually been in comic books for quite some time. This is the first time we've ever seen them, with the first mention of the Sons of Batman and Superman, was basically in World's Finest number 154 in 1965. The story is set in the future where Bruce Wayne and Kathy Kane and have a child named Bruce Jr. and Clark and Lois have a child named Clark Jr. The kids are basically trained to help their dads fight evil. It was a one-issue thing, and it was never really considered to be part of canon or even brought up again. It was just one of those things that they used to do in those days. I don't know how many people are out there who remembered when this came out, but this was the era of like the super aardvark, the super pig, the super chicken. So having super kids wasn't at all an unusual thing at that time. So now let's fast forward to the 70s. This was the second time we heard of the Super Sons. And this was in 1973. And again, we have Bruce Jr. and it's Clark Jr. And in this era, they're college age. And what's interesting is that they would appear 12 times between issue 215, which is this one, and issue 263. And believe it or not, for a while, they were actually canon, despite the ire of fans. Eventually, DC came up with a way to make them disappear from canon, and they said, but listen to this, that they were a computer simulation. They were a computer simulation in the Fortress of Solitude. So then they would disappear. But the whole thing about the whole Sons of Batman and Superman concept, it simply would not die. And you would see this concept toyed with in one form or another via Elseworlds, what-if type stories, Flashpoint. Don't get me started on Flashpoint. Finally, in 215, the year 215, they revisited this concept, and I'm gonna expand this window. They revisited this concept, and they came up with the Super Sons. Now, over here, you basically see. Oh, I should note that in the previous, the prior incarnation of the Super Sons, we never knew who the parents were. It was a very bizarre concept. But now over here, they brought them back, and we have Jonathan Kent, and we have Damian Wayne. We know who their parents are. So far, they're 35 issues in, and it's actually a fun title. They get into these misadventures. They don't always get along. They're very competitive. And these issues do not really include their super parents, even though it kind of shows here. And I believe up until now, they're about 35 issues in. And the artwork is wonderful. So, if anyone is curious to pick this up, you'll have a good time reading it. So Peter Tomasi is basically the one who's been working with various artists since 2015, working on the Super Sons. To date, I believe, I could be wrong, there are about 35 different issues with this team. So
yeah, so there's an omnibus now, and I believe the series might be canceled now. But there is an omnibus, I think, with the complete series, and I've heard it's quite good. I'm probably going to get my hands on a copy soon. I'm making a trade here with a friend of mine. Just got an extra. So without wasting any more time here, we're going to bring on our next guests. We got two special guests to add. First of all, we got David Giraud.
David, welcome back to the show.
Hey, and we also have the other David Borba.
First
both
timer.
of you guys are in Montreal, I believe, right?
I'm in Montreal, is in Quebec City. But we work for the same company. So.
Okay, on va dire bonjour, comment ça va, bienvenue.
Bonjour.
So, David G, I'm going to ask you the same question I asked Nillo. When XM came to you, because you've done some work for XM in the past, so they know your work. And I think David B, you also have worked on some of the XM pieces with David G in the past. So they come to you and they say, okay, we got this statue here, Super Sons. We want you. What did they explain to you why they chose you to do the statue, and what did you think when they came to you with this idea?
Well, it's our first collaboration statue. I think it's also the first statue that David Borba ever did. But we've been working for a few years together, and he's a lead at our Volta, the same company we work together.
Just sorry, what kind of company is that? Is that gaming?
No, we do a lot of gaming assets, characters, props. well, we're more into creatures and characters, but we've done a lot of props. But we also do like marketing posters for games or all sorts of things. Volta is more of originally it's more of a concept company, so it's we're doing amazing concepts for cinema, games, anything goes. And for the past 7 years, I've been working there, and we've been building the 3D department. So we mostly do game assets, but we had a few statues with Hasbro, more miniature stuff. But there might be something coming up officially through Volta soon. We can't talk about it, but it might be a possibility, and it's pretty exciting. So to be able to do this in my during my regular work hours would be pretty exciting. But yeah, usually it's more video games. But we've done a few different things, 3D concepts. Some stuff we can't really talk about because it's never going to be released. Some stuff is like video games, like Dark Alliance, Dungeon and Dragon. That's we've worked on some of the creatures and characters.
You guys that game's coming out later this year. I'm probably going to get that one. That's for anyone interested. That's the what do they call themselves? It's Dritzdor and his character there.
It's from a Montreal company called Tuk. And then they got acquired by Dungeon and Dragon, Wizard of the Coast. But before that, we worked on a lot of stuff. Devil May Cry 5. We worked on Street Fighter 5. We've done Monster Hunter. We've done a lot of stuff with Capcom.
Wow,
for a while.
That's awesome. So XM approached you to do Super Sons, and you wanted to work with David. This is more your initiative to have him come on board and work with you on this project?
Yeah, it started that most of the time I do statues alone, except for example, Darth Maul. I hired my good friend,
I remember.
Greg Rassam. He did the speeder bike. So sometimes with my day-to-day job, since it's something I do on the side and I've got kids, I get
darn those kids.
Yeah, well, I get overwhelmed a little bit, and the base for the Super Sons, there was a lot of mechanical parts, and so what I did is I started to block them. I blocked the pose to begin with. It's just the very first thing that you do, and then eventually I was like, there's just too many things for the time I have, and why not try to bring David Borba with me and see how it works out. And like David, we work together already, and it's so much fun to work together. It's just so easy to work with. Such a nice guy, so it was just like a no-brainer. So it's just how he came onto the project. It was kind of a let's get some help.
That's great. So,
right,
David
speaking
B.
of the base, here we go.
Yeah.
Let's show it. Here's a full screen. So David B, this is your baby here, the base part. It's some kind of mech or robot. Is that kind of your specialty? Is that why the other David came to you on this one?
Oh, we're gonna have to.
I can't hear him.
I can hardly hear him. David B, get closer to your mic or raise the volume somehow.
I can't hear.
I could barely hear. Yeah.
But I kind of. Well, it would be better to have him answer for us, but he's not necessarily specialized in a hard edge per se. But like the base, I started to block out, and then I needed him just to kind of detail the hell out of it, and really also troubleshoot anything that would be engineered. Because even though we don't do the engineering on XM, I did on Sideshow, I did on DC Direct all the time. But for XM, we don't do our own engineering. But still, we need to provide something that's not hollow, that's not going to break, that's just going to allow them to do, really clean engineering. So that's where it came in. You had to really do a lot of work and cleanups and detailing.
You could see it. Oh, yeah, that's much better.
I'll let you talk.
Yeah,
Okay.
Well, it was really good to see it right now, like painted. As you said before, Charles, it's been almost like 2 years since we. Is it 2 years, a year and a half that we finished this? It's really good to see it.
Yeah, it might be. Yeah.
I mean, So I could not ask for a better opportunity to start doing statues than like with Giraud, such an amazing artist who was very supportive and just amazing. Like this is my first statue, but he has so much experience, and yeah, it was a pleasure to work on these pieces. I like to do some mechanical design.
So what is that? Is that like a destroyed robot? Like what's that part? What's the base exactly? What's it made of? What is it?
Yeah. Oh, that's it. You have like two robots, like one that's coming apart, and then the other one that's almost completely destroyed.
Okay, that's very cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we'll give a quick 360 here. So, did XM have any input onto the robot design, or is this something completely out of your own minds to you?
They sent a sketch. It was mostly line work with the pose and with general flow they wanted. And yeah, our job was come up with make sense out of it and detailing all the parts.
Yeah, there was they actually had a concept of the full robot, but the full robot didn't make any sense in terms of how it was pieces to get, the pieces on the floor. And I mean, don't get me wrong, the concept was really well done. It was done by, it was done by Rafa Sandoval, and so basically there was a concept. Actually, John Superboy was actually not smiling. He was actually more pissed off, and I like that version better. And I know some fans have been saying they don't like the head. It's not my favorite head either, but this is the choice. That XM had. It was a smiling face to do a contrast between Damien and between John. So you have to respect their vision, because at the end of the day, it's their art direction.
They're the boss.
Yeah, and in terms of input, design wise, we try to respect the essence of the concept, but then we have to make up a lot of different parts. So some of it is done from scratch, and some of it also is some stock parts. So instead of doing everything from scratch for the mechanical parts, there's a few of them that are also patched together. They were like royalty-free stuff, but then it's heavily modified.
Yeah, well, that's great. And I think one of the things that XM is known for is that they want their statues to tell a story, right? So every aspect of this design is telling a story. That Damien, with his expression, he's a character that takes things very seriously. And Jonathan is more a fun-loving kid who's more like Clark Kent, sees the positive and optimism in everything. And here they are fighting this super robot without probably fully appreciating the danger that they're actually in. So this is a very interesting story that your statue, both of you, manages to convey very well. So I can see where they were going with, because art, whether we like it or not, I mean, even in film, it's generally about contrast. You want the good guys to be very clear. You want the bad guys to be very clear. It's about sharp colors, the bright red, the dark black, and so a lot of times we're kind of stuck in those motifs. That being said, the statue does tell that story well.
So yeah, I mean,
sorry.
Yeah, you guys mentioned contrast, and that for me is the first thing or one of the things that really stands out about the two characters. You got Jonathan Kent, who's wearing his old ripped up jeans and a hoodie, versus Robin, who's got all the Batman tech and he's armored up and everything. They do look very different, and I think so. If that's what DC wanted and that was the direction, you guys. I think
it's actually well, thanks, but it's actually funny because the inside of his cape, Robin, it's actually the same pattern as from the Batman, the Batfleck suit. So I did in the past a sideshow Batfleck, and I like to put little things like that. So the texture inside is actually the same pattern as the movie suit. So it's kind of just.
Okay, I've got. Speaking of Robin, let's just show some close-ups of Robin, and we can take a closer look at that texture here. But yeah, you can see his suit. I mean, he's got the armor, all the texture, the lace-up boots, and here's the cape.
You can't quite tell actually, but it is.
Yeah, it is.
You can see
get
it.
A little bit of a close-up there. So hopefully people can see that on the stream. The boots, the knee pads got texture and everything.
Yeah, the shoelaces.
I should point out that the statue is supposed to have two batarangs, but one of them was missing. I don't know where the other one is. So he's only got one batarang right now you can see the other hand is empty, but that'll have a Batarang in it.
It's actually funny because Batarangs is probably the thing I redid the most. I think I did 3 different types, and at the same time I was doing the replicas from NECA. NECA, they did those Batman movie replicas. They they have the Batarang, and they have also the grappling gun, and they also have the batons from what's his name? The ex-Robin, Nightwing.
Nightwing. Okay, that's just what I forgot.
So I was doing a bunch of Batarangs, and there was also like the Batman Beyond Batarang. So I was like into doing like a bunch of Batarangs.
Hey, can I just travel back to the capes for 1 second? I think that they're one of the standouts of the statue. Can you guys explain sort of the challenges of designing and sculpting these capes when you have 2 characters, because you've got to fit the capes to match the movement, but now you've got 2 characters. So can you explain sort of the challenges that you came up with? And
it is a challenge also because the piece had to be very compact. The way the base is designed and everything is designed, it had to be kind of contained into a very specific place. So even though the cape is kind of supposed to be very large, it's one of the reasons also why it's actually going back up this way. So it's dynamic, but also using a bit of less space. And the cape itself had to not go beyond the actual base itself, or barely.
Yeah,
so,
very close.
And clothing can be very challenging. So I mean, sometimes I like to use Marvelous Designer, which is a simulation, but you can't never use it just as it is, and it doesn't quite work for capes. You try, and then the problem is just kind of hangs, and then what happened is it just doesn't look good. So you end up redoing it, and then the capes were quite tricky. Especially for Jonathan, I had to kind of tweak it about 4 different times. Not remake it, but tweak it. And also the challenge is that you need to have some thickness to it. But it doesn't... It has to not look too thick, but it has to be thick enough that it's not going to break. So, And
his cape is in really a tight spot. Like it's there's not a lot of room for it to come around between it and the robot there. So I could imagine that.
And it's got to look dynamic enough, but not taking too much space. The robot piece is just right behind him. Robin is just hanging directly onto the robot. It's just his foot that's just directly pegged there. There's no actual contact.
Yeah, it's his butt. Is
it his butt now? It's been a while.
It's in his butt now. So.
Okay, so maybe they. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, it's kind of both, I guess. Had to be somewhere.
Well, at least on this piece, it's his butt. I don't know. That's subject to change as we've mentioned before. They
No, I think you're right. I think it's kind of both. His feet was there for a while, and
So I want to just show. Let's show some close-ups of Superboy here, real quick. And one thing that I like about this, I've got 2 boys that are roughly the same age as these 2 characters, and they spent a good part of their lives in costumes, Superman costumes. So it reminds me a lot of my kids. But sculpting kids, I mean, we don't see many statues of kids. This is probably the first one I've ever had in front of my face. It just doesn't happen often. Was that a challenge with this piece?
It is always a challenge to do statues or game models for kids because it's one of those things that I've been explaining in the past that doing females and sculpting kids as well is equally challenging because it's there isn't as much detail in the face. It's all about proportion. It's all about you can't have like a buff dude with a lot of muscles and he's all pissed off like Batman. It's not that it's easy to make a Batman, but doing like a pissed off male superhero is a bit easier because you get the comic look, you get the classic lines, and you can really just exaggerate a little more. For kids and women alike, it's all about subtlety, proportions, and kids. It's usually the size of the head, but the body itself, you can make it too muscular. Proportionate to be right. So the first thing I did in the statue is really just blocking the body types, but in pose right away. So in the past I did mistakes where it's not a mistake, but I did everything in T pose, just like in games, and I ended up redoing everything almost from scratch because you got to take in consideration the clothing, everything has to. So everything was kind of blocked out directly, without any detail in the face. It was all about the size of the head in proportion to the body. So it was really just getting something dynamic enough. So there was no detail at all. That the first thing I sent to XM were just two bodies, kind of floating, and then they had some adjustment to do a little bit on the arms and getting everything to be a bit more dynamic. And then from there, it's background, and of course the capes had to be there pretty early on in terms of filling up the space. Yeah.
Well, it's very interesting that you mention this. At the risk of sounding like a puff piece at this point, I mean, like you've done it all. I mean, you've done women, you've done Witchblade, you've done Star Wars, Aliens, Darth Maul. I mean, you've done kids, you've done superheroes. I mean, manga. I mean, I was just writing it down before. Gaming, manga, superheroes, virtually every possible scale and statues. Just as a personal question, like, what challenges are left for you as a creative designer when you've pretty much have done it all? If you understand the question.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. Well, the thing is, as you improve and you've done all those things, you still need to improve. You still need to have something in return. It's not a money thing, obviously, because for me it's a sideline, and if I don't get any pleasure in doing it, I wouldn't be doing it. And actually, I don't do as many as I used to. And the next one's going to be a Figurama. Actually, I'm coming back to Figurama for since
nice.
Trigun. It's been almost 6 years since I've done Trigun, which seems weird because it was kind of a statue that was released like 2 years ago, or
2 years. It came out in 2019.
Yeah.
So
it actually won the best in our annual awards. It won the best large anime statue.
That's right.
Landslide.
yeah, that was pretty amazing. Cause,
Yeah, but hold on. But before we get sidetracked into other stuff,
my specialty is sidetracking.
Yeah, it's all right. Well, I think what's great is you managed to find a way to stay stimulated. You managed to find a way to continuously have fun by always seeming to doing something different or something new. I mean, you were saying before that you get involved in marketing as well, and gaming. I mean, that's great. Most people who go into this industry envision what you're doing as like the ultimate objective of a digital artist and sculptor. Like you are living essentially the dream job, where what is it that would be too overwhelming for you, and also your ego seems to be in place where you have no problem saying, I'm going to call David B to help me out with mechanics. I'm going to call, what was the name of that fellow who helped you on Darth Maul?
Gregory Rassam.
Right.
He's been working at Ubisoft for forever. He's a weapons specialist most of the time. But the thing is, I'm 45. I've been in like 25 years in the game industry. Now it's been for the collectible. It's been over 10 years. So, it's all those things. It's work also as teams. It's not like even if I'm the one doing the sculpture most of the time, at the end there's all that work from XM or those other studios. When I work every day, it's not just me. It's our team. So it's very collaborative as well at Volta. So I used to do a lot of still production and doing actual pieces, and until last year. For the past year, during my day job, it's more about art direction. So guys like David Borba, Kevin, Matt, guys in our team, Francis, all those guys, they are doing the job. I'm just art directing those guys like for the past year and a half. So we're doing a lot of different things, and I do a lot. That's why I also need to do those statues on the side, because I don't do as much production as I used to, and I need to keep myself
Sure. But you've grown to appreciate the mentoring aspect of it.
Sure,
Right.
but also like I learn from those guys as well. It's not just one way. Like
Sure.
like I've learned so much in terms also of communication and trouble solving. And since we have so many different clients on a daily basis with different timelines and budgets, it's just crazy how many things we have to deal with and how we have to troubleshoot a lot of different things. And I'm not the only one doing that. It's a teamwork. So it's
absolutely.
it's not just me. Like even on the statues, like I was saying, there's the production team behind me.
Yeah. David, let me stop you there. We never really got the sense that you think it's all you, or that you presented it's all you. We get the sense that it's a collaborative, and we've worked with a lot of people over the years, and you've been the one who said, "Hey, you know what? We need to credit David B, or we need to credit Gregory." So that's been cool.
Such a nice guy.
Speaking of David B, actually, I had one last question for you, David B. Speaking of the team, I think that and I think most people probably agree that the base and the robotics is one of the more creative parts of the statue, and then where you get to really play and have fun and put your own sort of take on it. Is there an aspect of the robotics that you kind of wish you were able to add in there, but you just weren't able to for time reasons or space or because of the licensor didn't really agree? Was there something that you kind of wish now that maybe I had this planned, or this would have been cool?
Well, there was one thing that I was thinking, maybe make a bit more gore if I would add more cables to make some kind of allusion to something more like wounds and more humane but mechanic. But there was also the engineering parts that, honestly, I was not very secure for being my first statue, and it was complex enough with all the details, all the inner parts. So maybe in the future I'll take more artistic risks doing this.
Take more risks.
But
this doesn't look, David, this doesn't look like your first go at this.
Yeah, so here's a few overview shots here. Oh, sorry, that's the 360. We'll watch this one again. And I'll show a different clip with some overview shots. But so you mentioned this is the first statue that you've done. This isn't quite the final piece, but it's getting close. How do you feel about it?
Well, I thank you very much the engineering team as well, because this was a challenge on our part, and I know that was some big challenges on their part also to figure out, because with all the details and our intention was to build something that we didn't want to just make surfacing detailing. So really work as a statue with the three-dimension inside the head. When he punches, there's a lot of details inside that we see there also, and other parts also. In the arms, we try to work with the details that have volume. It's really just not on the surface. So this, I imagine, it was a challenge for the engineering team as well. But I'm super happy to see this come to production, and it's amazing. Really, I feel super good about it.
That's great.
All right, so I think we'll reach that point in the show. Any last questions for David G or David B? Charles and Gina.
I think once again, like with Nillo, we're happy and privileged that you guys came on the show to talk about your work on this project. And David, it's always great to hear your insights. There's virtually no question that you can't answer when it comes to this sort of thing. So it's always a pleasure to have you come on the show.
It's a pleasure to be invited. By the way, I was talking about Figurama being my next one, and David Borba is going to be on it as well.
Oh, well,
nice.
When that comes time, we'll have another, double feature.
Well, Mr. Shanab from Figurama is a good friend of the show, and he's been on a couple times and probably going to be on again. So maybe if we time it right, we'll be able to show that statue that you're working on for them. They've always got quite a few in the works. So let's bring back our first guest, Nillo, Samyr.
Nillo, welcome back.
Hawkman and Super Sons, both really great looking pieces. I'm happy to have the chance to see them. Both turned out really, really good. Both are available from XM worldwide. So anyone looking to pick these up can head over to the XM website and pick it up from any of their retailers worldwide. So once again, Nillo Samyr, David Borba, and David Giraud, thanks for joining us on the episode today. Thanks to everyone in the live chat. We had quite a few people posting the comments. Pretty positive reaction to these two statues here. So
Awesome.
once again, we'll sign off here. Thanks to everyone for watching. Thanks for all the guests for joining in. And we'll talk to everyone soon.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks for having us.